For our distance learning lesson today in urban geography, we're going to be taking a look at city economics. Yesterday we took a look at uh, city ecology, the green movement, city gardens and stuff like that. Today we'll take a look at something we also haven't really looked at a lot, but cities survive or exist to provide a service. Usually there has to be an economic focus. What do all those people in a city do? What is the economic focus of a city? And a lot of cities are big diversified areas. They're trade centers where people, they trade centers for a whole area where everybody comes and does their shopping and stuff. Sometimes big cities have economic or stuff that focuses, just changes everything because that is the biggest focus of the city. So what we want to take a look today is city economics, and let's take a look at Omaha economics. So let's start out with that. What is Omaha's economy focused on? I want you to stop a second and think of four of the biggest employers in Omaha. If you're doing this with your parents, let's go for four. What are the top 10 companies in Omaha that hire people? Well, think about it. You guys are going to be leaving high school someday, and you're going to have to get a job. And who are the people in Omaha that provide those jobs, those careers that are going to be big enough to hire over 2,000 people? So what are the 10 biggest employers in Omaha? Take a few minutes and think about it. Come on, in your mind. Where do your parents work for? Where do your aunts, your uncles, your neighbors? What are the big companies? Think of them. Can you write a couple down? In your mind, on your hand. What are four, or what are the four of the top 10? Can you get all 10? If we were back in the classroom, I'd be getting out the Starburst right now for anyone that could give me four of Omaha's top 10. I'm not sure I could do that with the distance learning. I have to drive by your house and throw the Starburst really hard, I guess. Well, does anyone know any guesses out there what the biggest employer in Omaha is? Might surprise you. Offutt Air Force Base. Offutt Air Force Base is a major employer. Not only just the base, but the things that feed into the base and all the businesses that in Bellevue and that's in the Omaha area, that take care of the base. I've got a couple friends that work down there at the base. They're not in the military. Sean does procurement. He does contracts and stuff like that. Offutt hires a lot of people. It's a major base. When 9/11 happened, George Bush flew to Omaha because Offutt, he's got the Strategic Air Command there. That was the old the SAC Museum. If you go out by Ashland now, you see the planes. And we still have bunkers there and control. They've got other missions at Offutt. Offutt takes care of Air Force predictions and weather predictions all around the world. And you need to know what the weather's going to be for your military. Offutt, major employer. CHI Health. Think about it. We got the CHI Center downtown. Omaha is a hospital town. Not only CHI, but also in the top 10, the Med Center. That's a huge complex. Methodist Hospital, Children's Hospital. Think about all the hospitals in Omaha, Boys Town, you've got Emmanuel and Bergen Mercy. You've got a lot of hospitals. If you want to have an operation in Nebraska, there are hospitals in Pierce, Nebraska, Norfolk, Nebraska. But if it's a major operation, you're probably going to come to Omaha because we have the Med Center. We've got a Methodist, and this is an important health center. With that, another one of the top 10 people in Omaha is going to be Mutual of Omaha. Insurance. It's a big insurance. Years ago, I remember the first day of school, you always handed out the Mutual of Omaha school insurance forms to students. Now, let's get into some non-medical employers in Omaha. Have you ever heard of a company called First Data? First Data is a big company. It does a lot of processing. You buy stuff, the payments have to be processed, which also leads to another major employer, PayPal. PayPal has a big operation here in Omaha. Those are big. Once upon a time, we had a lot of telemarketing in Omaha, but telemarketing is not what it used to be with the, do not bother me laws. We also have Ameritrade, though, right there at Dodge Street, that big green building, And of course, let's not forget Union Pacific Railroad. A lot of people work for the Union Pacific headquarters. I know they're always laying people off and cleaning house there, but still a lot of people work there. And First National Bank, the biggest bank in the area. Those are all major employers in Omaha. But when you look at them together, you can see that between government and office and health centers, that's what one of the biggest emphases Omaha is. But we also have transportation, not only Union Pacific, but think of the trucking companies like Warner and stuff like that. We have a lot of other companies in Omaha that do other stuff. We have a big company, you might have heard of it, called Berkshire Hathaway, which is a holding company. Okay, that's a company that owns other companies. All right, so with that in mind, let's take a look at something called functional specialization of cities. That's where you've got like one service or industry that really becomes so overpowering or so important that it becomes a dominant economic focus of a city. Now, you don't have to know the guy, Chauncey Harris, who wrote a book about it, and he talks about how that has made some cities, but think about it. When you talk about Detroit, it's still the automobile industry, Motor City, Motown. Pittsburgh will always be known for steel. It's the steel city. Hey, the Pittsburgh Steelers, well, Detroit Pistons too. Las Vegas, that's all gambling. Las Vegas was a small nothing town in the middle of the desert until people from working at a nearby dam start going there to blow off steam, and they start gambling, and then World War II, and before you know it, you get Las Vegas. There's other places though too. Norfolk, Virginia is a huge Navy town. You go to Norfolk, you're going to see a whole bunch of sailors all around town. That's our East Coast major port for our Navy. Places like Vero Beach in Florida, it's all about resorts, you know. Okay, West Point, New York. Right. Military Academy. West Point is the U.S. Military Academy. So you've got a lot of cities that serve specialized things, okay? Take a look at these and see if you can figure them out. Okay, what do you know about Vail and Aspen, Colorado? Skiing, right. Nashville, Tennessee? Come on, music, country music. Went there with the family a couple years back. Nashville's a fun town. Love Nashville. San Diego, California's got a world-class zoo, but that's not the main economic driver of San Diego. That's the West Coast Navy town. You go to San Diego, you're going to see Marines and sailors all over the place. Houston, Texas, oil production. That's where your refineries are. When you got a hurricane that nails Houston, you can just count on gas prices going up. Here's a tough one you kids won't know. Your parents will. Hartford, Connecticut. Insurance. The Hartford, okay? Washington, D.C., it's all about government spending, government. Let's go to a couple smaller ones. South Bend, Indiana. Anyone know what South Bend, Indiana is? Yeah, that's where Pete Buttigieg is from, but that's not what South Bend is known for. It's a college town. That's Notre Dame. Lincoln, Nebraska. Now, here's a closer one for you. Now, think about Lincoln. In one way, you could say it's a college town because of the university's huge employer. Think about a Saturday in the fall, how big Lincoln is to people. But we also have all the government spending there. That's where the penitentiary is, the state capitol, all the state offices and stuff like that. So, I mean, you could call Lincoln a college town or government area because of all the stuff, but that's what it is. Now, here's the problem, though. What happens if you're focused only on one thing, like Detroit? And what happens when all of a sudden that thing has a problem, like Pittsburgh, when the steel industry in the United States, as our factories got older in the 70s and 80s, and those factories started moving, and overseas companies like South Korea, and then later, of course, China, started doing stuff with that we couldn't compete with, and it hurt the steel industry a lot. If you're focused just like Detroit on cars, when those cars go downhill, your economy goes downhill. Detroit has lost hundreds of thousands of people in their population. There used to be 1 million people. I think I read in the paper today, Detroit sounded like 600,000. The secret is having a diversified economy like Omaha. All of our eggs are not in one basket. When you've got a lot of different employers, that makes the economic health of a city better. So if one area is having a problem, then you have other areas, okay? Now, there are cities that are going to be known as regional trade centers. In a way, you think about it, Omaha serves as like a regional trade center, like Kansas City does. So all the banking and everything kind of feeds into that thing. And all the smaller towns, they job all their stuff from Omaha and gets shipped out there on those semis. You have to have medical centers too. Rochester, Minnesota is a very interesting town. That's where the Mayo Clinic is. And it's a huge employer, but there's other things in Rochester too. Diversify your economy, the biggest cities, like your Minneapolises and your Kansas Cities, have a lot of different things. They may start with one thing, but their economy diversifies. Okay, and that's important. Diversified economy equals jobs. When you kids graduate, I wish you good jobs. I wish you good professions, happiness, families, and whatever your dreams are. But it might be that you're not doing that in Omaha because you have to find a city with your economic focus.